tax cap ordinance to order. Roll call.
Trustee Kreis.
Here.
Trustee Schiavone.
Here.
Trustee Gillis.
Here.
Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Killily.
Here.
Trustee Moskal.
Here.
Mayor Rybak.
Here. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out this evening for the second public hearing for the repealing of the self-imposed tax cap ordinance. Our first hearing was held about 2 weeks ago, and I see a lot of the same faces here this evening that were at the first meeting. I tried to explain at the first hearing that when I became mayor, it was more than evident that the village was in financial trouble. The village is $24 million in debt. This debt is in the form of bonds that were issued by the previous administrations. The practice of borrowing began in 2007 and didn't end until 2010. While Tom was mayor, he borrowed approximately $4 million in 2 years, and in the following 2 years, Terry borrowed an additional $20 million. The repayments of these bonds were supposed to be done with sales tax, additional tax, gas tax, and a surcharge on the water bill. The village refinanced the bonds just prior to the last election to try to address the immediate cash flow problem they were experiencing. The new repayment of the bonds started in 2013. Currently, the village has to pay back the issued bonds at the rate of about $1.5 million a year. If the pledged taxes and surcharges don't cover the bond payments that are due, we have to use other funds to cover the difference. It was very apparent to me that the accounting practices of the past were totally unacceptable at any level. I hired an outside CPA to get a better picture of our overall financial situation. From day one, I was told by the prior administration that I'd be lucky if I made it through the end of the year without running out of money. With the guidance of the new accountant, the board received monthly reports and financial forecasts that indeed showed that running out of money could very well be the case. I held meetings with the employees in September of 2013 to explain the financial situation of the village. The finance committee started looking for different ways that we could generate dollars that would be needed to continue to run the village. I carefully looked at the expenses in all departments, and many changes came about. The knowledge of the financial situation is not something we just started looking at 2 weeks ago. We've been trying to address it for over the past year and a half. Some of the new revenue streams were put into place from the suggestion of the Finance Committee. The board decided to have our fire department become our ambulance service. We used to pay Bud's ambulance $36,000 a year to transport our residents. The residents then paid Bud's for their services. Our fire department was always the first to respond to any ambulance call and were there to assist our residents, but then needed to just stabilize the patient and wait for Bud's. Now when a resident calls 911 for an ambulance, our very well-trained paramedics show up and have the care of our residents from the time they arrive until they're taken to the hospital for further medical aid. This is generating money for the village instead of paying someone else to transport. The village board agreed to impose a 1% home rule sales tax. This did not put us higher than our surrounding communities that we were already paying sales tax. The board continued to try to attract business to the community by changing zoning codes when necessary to assure that the businesses could come to the village. We continue to apply for grants that we have been very successful in receiving. These grants are for various projects throughout the village, but we believe they have a better benefit for the overall improvement of the village. Expenses in all departments were addressed, and many changes came about to streamline and save the village money. We no longer had a full-time village attorney, which was outsourced to a legal firm that we used to advise us on all legal matters. When I asked the full-time village administrator and an economic developer that the village had employed to account to me on what he was doing and producing for the village, he decided he no longer wanted to work for the village. We chose not to replace this position and took the task of attracting new businesses to the village ourselves. Many vacant storefronts and office spaces have been filled in the past year. With the announcement of the closing of Century Foods, I personally reached out to Burkott Grocers to see if they'd be interested in coming to the village. They are currently working on doing nearly a $5 million renovation of the old Century Food and St. Vincent thrift store. I'm very proud to announce that they will be opening the beginning of December. There is a job fair scheduled with them to be hosted at the Village Hall to interview candidates who would like to work at their new location. The new store should generate approximately 50 new jobs in the village. We have brought a new used car dealer to the village along with a motorcycle sales shop. Charter Fitness is now open for business. Smaller businesses have opened, such as Steer Hogs, La Dolce Bakery, and other nutrition stores. A new Allstate agent has entered into our ranks also in the village. And we have also numerous service-oriented businesses in the past year, but without the cost of a $100,000 plus salary to bring them in. When I got in office, both unions, police and fire, were in negotiations. I worked closely with the unions and both agreed to term contracts, with both unions agreeing to take 0 increases for the first 2 years of their contracts. Full-time positions were replaced with lesser paid personnel. Some were filled with part-time employees and some positions weren't filled at all. To address the cash flow problem in the village, we opted to push out payments to certain bills to ensure we had enough money to operate. Even with all the new revenue streams and the cuts in the expenses, we are still short of our yearly debt obligation that the village has to overcome. Currently, again, I remind you, the village is $24 million in debt, paying it back at an annual rate of approximately $1.5 million. No new debt has been incurred since I have taken office. Sitting and trying to place blame on anyone is a waste of positive energy. We can all be angry and disappointed in the decisions that were made in the past, but that does not solve our problem. The focus for this village board has to be how to overcome the 2 problems we are facing. Our long-term debt problem, followed by a short-term cash flow problem. The Finance Committee met last Friday, and the financial forecast at that meeting showed that by the end of January, we would be at negative spending. Time is of the essence when we are discussing our solutions. The Finance Committee has been trying to come up with plans and ideas to get us out of our financial dilemma. The problem with the proposed solutions is that we would not feel the effect of some of their ideas in a quick enough fashion. Many of the ideas are speculative. We could raise the sales tax by another 1%, but that would mean our sales tax rate would be the highest in the state. That could deter people from shopping in the village and could also cause some businesses to relocate to other communities. The net effect of this proposal could be detrimental to attracting new businesses to come to the village. By law, the village wouldn't be able to entertain requesting the sales tax increase until April of 2015, and that would then be implemented for a July 1st, 2015 start. The adding of a liquor tax or cigarette tax would have the same effect. We need to continue to attract businesses to the village that will generate sales tax. We are currently working in a contract with Hamilton Partners to develop the 147th Street site. After nearly a year of working with the property owner of the hard corner, we were able to come to agreement to develop the entire site as one piece under the direction of Hamilton Partners, and I feel confident that we should have something committed to that site very soon. With the opening of the 294-8057 interchange in Posen, this has brought a lot of interest to the 147th and Kedzie properties. I reached out to the property owners, and they currently have a developer trying to bring a commitment to that side of town as well. In the first public hearing, there were many ideas given by residents and the board members, and I appreciate that we are looking for any way to get us out of the mess we are in. It was suggested that we do a special assessment tax on the property tax bill. I investigated the prospects of being able to do something like this and found out that a special assessment can only be imposed for something new in the future to bring about the betterment of the community as a whole. And while paying off our long-term debt would be for the betterment of the community, this is not allowable for that purpose. It was suggested that we impose a tax on service-driven businesses. The administration of such tax would be very costly, and then I also found out the other reason that no other community in Illinois has it. The Illinois Supreme Court ruled in 1982 that such a tax is unconstitutional, so this solution is not going to work either. I have heard from some residents that they feel our staff is overpaid for what they do for a living. While you look at our website and search to see what the people who work here make, you should do your homework and find out that our fire chief makes approximately 5% less than the average chief in the surrounding communities. Our deputy chiefs make approximately 13% less than the average. The average firefighter/paramedic salary in the surrounding communities is $75,300. Our average salary is $73,495. Our chief of police makes 8.5 less than the average chiefs in the surrounding communities. Our police officer's salary is $67,500 on average, and our surrounding communities compensate on an average of $72,000. Our public works superintendent receives approximately 7% less than the surrounding communities. Our public work employee, on average, makes $58,709 a year, while the surrounding communities pay an average of $61,200. Whatever the board decides to do, it is absolutely necessary for the village to secure tax anticipation warrants. This is a loan borrowing the money anticipated on the property tax that the village would receive in March of next year. When presenting ourselves to the bank to secure such loans, we need to be able to show them that we have a 3-year plan with a positive way to get the village out of our financial deficit. I will need to show the banks that we have a plan based on concrete numbers instead of some predictions of things that might happen. The money that was borrowed in the past is now the money we have to repay going forward. We can sit and try to blame and accuse, but the bottom line is we are still liable for the money we owe. We can attempt to file bankruptcy and ask the state to come in and take over and become the next Robbins or Harvey. The state solution would be to raise the property taxes as well. We can leave our fate in the hands of outsiders, or we can take responsibility for the condition we have been left in. The ordinance was written in such a way that the decision falls solely on the 6 board members in front of you. As the mayor, I don't get a vote in this decision. I have to rely on the judgment of the board. We needed to conduct 2 public hearings, this be the second of them, related to the issue, and then we have to wait 45 days before a vote can be taken on the issue. I need the trustees to hear your concerns and take all your thoughts into consideration when making their decision. One of our biggest challenges I've had in the past year and a half is the employees were totally used to, but we always did it that way. Showing them that day-to-day operations could be done in a different, more efficient, more economical way was hard, but I am proud to say they have all come around. They've embraced the new ideas and are working for the common goal of making our village better. In 2010, to get home rule, a promise that this was not related to raising taxes was a valid promise from the board members. That didn't mean that the time might come that they have no other choice. None of these board members could have foreseen the economy in our village, county, state, country, and the world stay in the so-called depressed recession that we are just beginning to slowly come out of. The increase the board is currently looking for to the residents would be 33%. Yes, I understand the percentage sounds very high, but when you take into consideration, the village's current tax rate is 1.967, with the increase it would go to 2.62. The increase would only apply to the village portion of your tax bill, not your entire bill. With the assistance of Trustee Killelea, he developed a spreadsheet to predict what this would do to the average homeowner and business owner. The increase to the home properties we ran were anywhere from $80 to $350 per year. This increase would give the village the money we need to make our daily operating expenses and cover the $1.5 million in bond payments. Being fiscally responsible is still top priority for this entire board, and we will continue to look at any and all ways to save money. At this time, if any of the board members would like to make any comments before we open it up for public comment. Anybody have anything to say? Due to the vast amount of people that are here this evening, I'm sorry, did you want to say something? No?
I would just, if this is the only solution, then I would throw out there, I would like to recommend that we put a referendum on the April ballot and have town hall meetings leading up to that and let the residents decide. I don't think this is, I'm not.
Repeat that, please, louder.
I have them on, they're just not working.
I'm saying if this is the only solution that I keep hearing, I think there's other solutions, but I keep hearing this is the only solution. If that's true, I believe, I'm recommending that we put a referendum on the April ballot and have town hall meetings leading up to that April ballot and let the residents decide in April. I don't think this is, I can't vote to repeal the tax cap ordinance, so I don't know what the rest of the board members will do, but that's my feeling.
And if I could just interject, I share trustee Rybak's sentiments. I think that the fix here is going to be a combination of things. It's going to be a combination of additional expenditure reductions, revenue enhancements, and the key to business commercial development is critical. And I've been working with a number of the businesses in town that have openings to try to help fill their vacancies. And I received an email today from Viking Partners, who are the owners of the plaza where Trustee Hill's shop is, where Walgreens is located. And his email to me, I sent him a lead, he's got three other leads, we're in constant communication, but his email to me was pretty telling. Is there anything exciting I can relay to these prospects about current upcoming good news with the village? And I don't think he wants to hear about a 33% property tax increase. The board is faced with extremely difficult decisions, extremely difficult decisions. We understand your pain. And just to clarify what the mayor said, that $350, that wasn't on all, Trustee Killey did a sampling. Those were not on the most expensive properties in town, and those were only on residential properties. I don't know if Don wants to address the businesses. The burden on the businesses in commercial properties is much higher, and my fear is that we will diminish and reduce our chances of all of the hard work we've done to try to attract business here, because I think that really is the key to turning the corner here in Midlothian. So, and again, I am available. I have received numerous phone calls and emails, and I tried to answer each and every one of them. I was downtown today at another economic development forum, so if somebody emailed me and I didn't get it, I promise I will get back to you. But call me. Please call me. I will be happy to answer any questions that I may be able to answer, and meet with you, or do whatever I have to do.
Okay. Any other comments? We will continue with this hearing. If you would like to address the board, with it being so crowded, I don't know if there's a way you can come like up by this ramp area to make your comments. We're asking that you limit your comments to 3 minutes, and you'll get like one time, so everybody has a chance if they would like to address the board. So if there's anybody who would like to come up and address the board, please feel free.
Okay.
Yes.
My name's Tom Perkins. We have a bunch of empty property on 147th and Cicero. Why don't we just give it away to him? We have a bunch of empty property on 147th and Cicero that the previous administration purchased. Why don't we just give the property away and put that back on the tax rolls? You know, getting something's better than getting nothing.
Thank you for your suggestion. Yes, sir.
My name is Larry Huff. We've lived in the village 45 years. We have been under 4 administrations. The blame game is not going to work. I was on the committee that helped pass home rule. Part of the rule was 5%, and that was it. Everybody agreed to it. There is what's in there is called a supermajority. Out of these 6 people, 5 of them have to vote yes. I will also go the other way and say, think the blame game will not work. We are broke. If we don't pay our bills, when you call 911 and there's no ambulance there, remember this meeting. I will say this. I get wound up, so I will say this. I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to. If these trustees do not vote to change the base of 5%, They will be called the pallbearers of Midlothian. Because within 18 to 24 months, there will be no functioning things that you talk. We can talk about the past. We can talk about things that happen. What's happening now? What would this be in your own home? If you owed that kind of money, you'd have to do something. If it's bankruptcy,
We wouldn't owe this kind of money. We live within a
that's what it's
budget.
gonna be.
They passed this, I'll be moving in with you.
We're not here then.
Well, I'm just saying. They don't
This
have
is
to
not an
tax.
argument. Please keep your comments.
May I?
This lady had her hand up. Yes, ma'am.
I've been here a year longer than he has. My name is Mary Ann Melby, I live in Jolly Homes. Could you please tell me of the $20 million that the previous administration borrowed, how much was for that now defunct water pipeline? We don't have it, we're still gonna pay Chicago. We should never have gotten into it in the beginning. How much money did we waste of all that money that we are now in?
Jawa?
That's not, what, you're talking about Jawa or the water?
I have no clue.
The water.
You're talking about
We're
Jawa.
trying to save money on so we wouldn't have to pay Chicago water.
Okay,
The
we're gonna, you know, over 10 years, it's probably gonna cost the village, cost you, the taxpayers, a total of about $450,000. So roughly about $45,000 a year, over the whole village,
Is that how much money we lost?
yes.
Is that in addition to the millions?
That's just Jawa.
Or is it
Jawa,
a part of it?
that doesn't have anything to do with the water infrastructure, but that's just Jawa, which was we were trying to get water cheaper than we could from Chicago.
Yes, sir, you had your hand.
Okay, thank you. I'm not here to blame anybody. Because, if you know me, I have been here before. And especially by that time, when $5.5 million was on salary paid, and they had to borrow another $8 million. That's fine. Now, but you know, it is easy to point fingers and say, well, he this and he that. The problem is not service we get from the people. The problem was, when I was dead and I complained, and you should know about that, I complained about the man. That has gone by. But what I want to say is, what they don't realize, they blame, we are the blame. We didn't show up when we should have. We didn't speak up when we had to. Okay, now the public servant is a public servant. You come with your bill to us. You know, I pay $600 a month now for 12 months. I got a 900% increase. That is all gone by. But what I want to say is, my fellow men screwed me royally because I tried to get them here. He said, oh, but John, you know what they can do to you. What you mean I went through World War II. What can they do to me? I'm worried about somebody doing. I'm almost 90 years old. I'm just a reckoning that took only 5 years. But what I want to say is, it's easy to blame. You are to blame, and you are to blame. I talked to Mr. Steffens, and I said to him, I don't know if you remember my speech. I said, you have a Rolls-Royce administration, a Rolls-Royce fire department, a Rolls-Royce police department, a Rolls-Royce operation, but there's one thing you forget. With a Chevy Phillips. You know, I run business. And if I was 10 years older, I would come here and try to organize it. I did things I could not be done. Be surprised when you want to do something. I'm not in trouble financially because I listen to Milton Friedman. And if you listen to Milton Friedman, I don't listen to the snake oil sellers because that's a politician. Don't tell you anything. But what I want to say is, before you criticize, look at yourself. Are you there when we had trouble? When you saw it coming, 5.5 million, 8 million he borrowed, I was there. You know what I mean? I said to him, I had to ask him 3 times. I said, when are we gonna get him in? And then it came out, he borrowed $8 million, and then $10 million came from another stream, so to speak. So, before you go out the home and blame, look at yourself. Who is to blame? Anybody who didn't show up, and it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I can't speak for everybody, but I would say that the majority of the people here aren't blaming you guys or blaming the previous administrations. We're all just trying to figure out a way, without being taxed out of our homes, to stay here and fix the budget so that we can pay our bonds and stay in our homes. So I think arguing about who's here to blame and who's not here to blame is wasting everybody's time. I think that there are a group of us who have gotten together and have many questions about spending in the village and the spending habits and maybe some ideas about what can be cut. But I don't think that we have time to go through all of those right now. What I would like to say is that the employee insurance is very high. It's $1.2 million for health insurance for the village yearly. What portion of that are the employees paying? And is there, do we shop around yearly? I know in your letter you had stated that you got 8 dead people removed off of the policy. I just personally think that's unacceptable because that's saying nobody's auditing that every year. So what does our insurance look like? Who takes care of that? Is there a way to save money? And the employees, can they take on a portion? I think that most of us who work take on a portion of our health insurance if we have it to save money.
Yeah, we do have a share with our unions and all our employees. They do share in the cost of the insurance. And yes, now under my reign, I make sure that the insurance policy, and I know even Karen and Don in the past, the insurance policy gets looked at every year and we look for the best price possible. We cut deals. When we first started negotiations on the insurance this year, I believe we started at like 9 or 11% and got it down to an overall increase of only 3% by shopping around. So we are doing things like that and we'll continue to do those things. I appreciate your comment. Yes.
Okay, no decision to repeal this tax cap needs to be done until we all as a group, the residents, the mayor, the board, sit down and come together at meeting after meeting after meeting to determine other sources of revenue besides a 33% tax increase. I would propose that during the summer, for whatever reason, the board agreed and voted that we would eliminate one of the village board meetings every month. I think we need to repeal that decision. We need to go back to having 2 board meetings every month so that people have an opportunity to come to the village, because everyone might not be available on the first Tuesday or second Tuesday or third Tuesday, whatever it might be. We need to go back to having 2 meetings a month so everyone has the opportunity to come forward and bring their ideas and hear and see exactly what's going on at the village, because you don't have an opportunity to do that on a monthly basis. And as far as the special assessment goes, if we can't have a special assessment, we can't repeal the whole entire tax cap. Because if we do that, that's going to leave all the residents wide open to ongoing tax increases with no end in sight.
Yep. Laughing is just delaying what time we have for the residents to speak. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I cannot hear her.
We are being overtaxed as it is by Cook County. Now you want to tax us. We're being taxed out of our homes. Many people are retired and fixed incomes. And what are we getting for our tax dollars? We don't go to you to pay our bills. Why are you coming to us to pay yours?
Thank you.
Yes, sir, in the back with the glasses.
So my name is Mike Nealon. I'm all for not blaming. We can't go back and fix what's been done already. But the people up there are gonna vote on this are the same people that sat there when this $20 million was put into effect. And that just doesn't make a lot, that doesn't sit right with me. You can sit and blame other people, but the same people sitting up there are the same people that were there when this money went to debt like this.
I appreciate your comments, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
It sounds like you're really saying that the taxes would go up $7 to $30 a month per house based on your assessment. Can you explain what happens if you don't pass this? Because you're actually saying you're going to be out of money, right? And so the tax anticipation that you're talking about,
Correct.
basically a short-term thing,
Correct.
to cover our long-term obligations.
Yes.
So we can restructure and get the taxes in. And I don't know if everyone understands. So can you explain, if we don't pass it, exactly what the contingency plan is?
The contingency plan that I have in place right now is we would still borrow tax anticipation warrants on the 1.5 tax cap levy we would be able to produce come December 1st. The only problem is once again, we're borrowing short-term cash to get through a long-term problem. And services would definitely have to be looked at a lot harder. Maybe, and I don't know, I cannot speculate that. I was really hoping that I could convince the people that this was the best way to be. I mean, I've looked at everything from many different angles, and it'll just take a lot of work by the board to decide what services and what options we have out there. So we don't really have anything in concrete yet. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question. My name is Linda, and I've been in here for 39 years in Midlothian. I've seen people come and go. We have gas, we have electric, we have the garbage and water. Think about how many homes are empty in Midlothian. Instead of punishing the people, the residents that's already paid. We've got to get people in these homes to help support. There are so many homes out there. We even have Heartside that are selling homes in Midlothian. They've got to get people in the homes and not at a high rate, at a rate that they can afford, so that they could build their home, build structure. We're losing it because we don't have people in our residence. We've got to take account. How many homes are out there that are empty?
500.
And it is a structure for our community.
Let me just say, we're members of the South Suburban Land Bank, and that is one way that they actually are buying homes in different towns and rejuvenating, just like what you're talking about. We have, I believe, about 250 homes. But there is no town that doesn't have that. That was a product of the economy. It wasn't a product.
We're losing
It wasn't a product of the tax rate. It was a product of the economy. Every town that's on that land bank has the same problem. It wasn't so much because
well, they don't have the same problem as us.
They have vacant homes too. I'm just saying.
Our town.
I know they have vacant homes too.
Don't compare this to somebody
They
else.
have about the same rate.
So raise the tax cap another 33% and see what happens. See how many more you get.
Who brought? Did anybody bring their bills with them today?
Yes.
Okay, so remember, it's just on the Village of Midlothian line that you're going to get taxed at 33%, not the whole bill. So when you're looking at that, I did the survey. It was between 182 and 394 per year for your Village of Midlothian tax rate, and actually your whole tax bill, if everything goes according to FOIA, which it never does, will go up about 6% overall. Okay, so when you look at this, don't think that your whole tax bill is going to go up 33%. It's just on the Village of Midlothian line that says Village of Midlothian. So, it's not good, it's not great, but it's not on the whole tax bill. Okay, make sure you understand that.
Okay. Yes, sir. Next question.
Okay, I just want to agree with the board about let's have a series of town meetings to resolve this issue over the course of the next half year or year, whatever it takes. But I feel we should get do a better job getting the word out about this. I only found out about this meeting the other day through word of mouth from one of my neighbors. Likewise. I think it's, we can't just advertise in the Southtown Star. We got to go as far as mailing each resident in this village a letter, each and every meeting's going up. Make sure at different times of the week it's convenient to everybody's schedule, so everybody has a chance, or as many people as possible have a chance to come and give their voice. And that we meet in a bigger facility.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Excuse me, please.
With the foreclosed homes in town, did the banks pay any real estate taxes on those foreclosed homes?
Yes.
So we are getting something out of that. Also, that's something else I was going to say. Who maintains the foreclosed homes?
Who maintains?
The banks or the village?
Each of the banks maintain their homes.
You guys really need to get on there. They're not doing it.
Right.
If the banks don't maintain it, then we have our public works do work that is needed, and then we bill the banks.
Can you repeat that louder?
If the banks don't do the work, like the upkeeping of the grass is one of the big things, public works will go in there and do that, and then we will bill the banks.
Yes, we do find them. Yes, we do find them.
We'll find them more.
Yeah, they can afford it.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to bring up John, I believe is his name, who had asked the question, where were you? It is an exceptional structure that I myself have studied in the context of World War II. There's actually, it's a poem that talks about, when they came for so-and-so, and I apologize for not knowing the details of that story, but the summary of that story was, when they came for the speaker, there was no one left to go ahead and defend on behalf of the speaker because they had come and take him away. Now, I've listened to people in this room make comment that they want to be more connected, and yet I'm the only one right now, for example, with a video camera. So for my commentary to this board, and most especially you, number one, I would caution you, do not go slamming Robbins, who has their community access station active and broadcasting every single meeting that none of you throughout these years has ever done, and I myself have failed. I have failed this village by not getting this video. I'm the only person in this village that owns video? That's absurd, number one. Number two, you're talking an average of 100, 200, or 300. It's time for you guys to start demanding the refunds that I have been demanding for well, if not 6 years, 8 years, including the $30,000 that would pay to Civic Plus. That still has yet to fix that website. They have not delivered the product and the service that is in the contract that I specifically presented to all of you. Not only that, we deserve a full refund from Sterling Codifiers for a municipal code book that if it was a car, it would have been recalled decades ago. It's a joke. And the idea that it was my voice that had to fight half of you to get that book online, and for you guys today to be sitting here with this room wanting to be a part of this, wanting. None of you tonight chose to bring a camera, even though I know someone in this village invited all of you to. So I hope tonight, no matter how you process what any of us have said, my other request and my final request is tied in with what Gary said. You put all of this now online. You get interactive systems, not this community voice that you have to have an account that violates my privacy for years, in which nobody can read it. None of this argument of my seeing Burke's name on the 2014-2015 employee conversation, and when I go to search meeting minutes online, I have to spend 3 hours of my life using extra software just to make it searchable so people in this room can search it, when all you have to do is go ahead and leave it open, and you don't. So I don't know where anyone else has been, but I know where I have been, and so do all of you. I have psoriasis. I can't come to all the meetings. I'm sorry. but I do my best to treat you fair, with dignity, with respect, even when I'm upset. But tonight, again, how dare you sit here and slam our neighbor, no less, trying to compare that if we don't move on your idea, let alone the idea that Gary did offer up an exceptional, let's just take a pause. Let us talk, and you guys actually, for once, really and truly listen, take it to heart, and apply it and prove it to us.
Is out for that. Joe, you mentioned the tax increase and everything else. Is that a permanent tax increase, or is that? Yes. So it's forever. So even after the short-term $24 billion debt's done, the tax increase doesn't have anything to do with that. It doesn't have anything to do with the debt.
Quiet, please, so everyone can be heard.
It's permanent in the sense of that particular year. So each year the village has to submit a tax levy. And that can go up or down depending on what the need is.
Yes.
So in other
Yes,
words,
sir.
next year we could be facing the same increase.
If this was a performance review, I'd be asking you, you people had oversight when that $20 million and so were spent in the bond issues. What makes us think that you're going to do a better job of oversight now than you did back last administration?
Thank you. Yes.
My concern is long-term economic development and sales tax is what we want to rely on. And when you overtax our businesses, you as a tenant then, your strip mall owner has to pass that along. And our commercial taxes were high a while ago. We're gonna out-tax anybody potentially that really wants to come here. And when you have long-term businesses, they're gonna start looking at things and seeing where else they can go to take cheaper property, cheaper property taxes. So I'm just afraid long-term, not only is it gonna impact residents, it's really gonna impact the hope to get that sales tax revenue back up. Car dealerships, money-making strip malls. So that's my concern.
Okay, thank you so much. No, you already had a turn. I got to get through everybody the first time. Yes, sir.
On a smaller scale, when I'm broke, not even in a deficit, I stop spending. When I was 12 years old, I had 4 children and 3 jobs because I couldn't afford to feed them. I worked on my brush. I have been there. I've never gone out to borrow and borrow and borrow and borrow to say, okay, I'll pay you back someday. It's my money. All of this money going for taxes, I moved back to Midlothian because I love this town. As soon as I moved back, I got hit with the Cook County income tax, or the state income tax, and then Cook County, and then Midlothian. Since I've been back 7 years, my taxes, not on my income, just on my house, they've gone up like $2,300. I went to the Cook County appeal meeting and specifically said, why do you have to keep raising taxes? And the commissioner of the tax, and I'm not too keen on government, said because we can't say no to municipalities for pensions. We can't say no to giving them what they want. And that was his words. You have to put your foot down, belly up to the bar, act like it's your money, and cut spending and stop spending. Don't ask for more. It's a crisis. If I'm in a crisis, I don't go out and buy an ice cream for $3.50 at Starbucks or whatever. I do without. As far as, well, pick up the phone at 911 and nobody's going to be there, that's bunk. Because every politician that wants to raise taxes, well, if we don't have this tax, we're not going to have firemen, we're not going to have police departments. I did just a little bit of research, and I'm not slamming anybody here, but I think it's our public works person makes more than our chief of police. Now, how backwards is that?
Not currently, sir. Not
Sharon, the report online is wrong.
Then you guys
It's
need
wrong.
to
It
change
needs to be
the
fixed.
information that's out there, because it's not us that's wrong, it's what you're putting out there for us to
The
read.
compensation report is
Yes.
incorrect. It has a bunch of inaccuracies, and I
Right
sent
here.
an email to you and
There's
to
5
Courtney
people on
last
here
week.
that don't even work here on your current budget, so that there's a,
Like they worked here at the beginning of the fiscal year though.
yeah.
That's why they're on there.
Burke didn't.
Because they worked at the beginning of the fiscal
2014
year.
and 15.
Dave Burke didn't work.
Burke didn't work here.
All right, I will address it. Yes.
How about letting Kathy speak? She's got a lot of the questions that we're asking.
For over
and
30
let her put out there what we want to say. Don suggested that we have a spokesperson, and we've got Kathy. Let her speak.
She can have my 3 minutes.
She's got my 3 minutes.
All right, you know what, we'll get back to Kathy.
That's fine.
We have other people who want to make comments still.
That's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
She's gonna tell us there's no time.
That's all right.
Also, present library board, and I'm concerned about what this will do to our library volunteer. We discussed this last night at our board meeting, and I have to get more information, because these meetings have been very hard to find, not publicized. I have a suggestion. One of your ideas was to raise our city sticker or village sticker prices. How many renters do we have in this town that don't buy stickers? Do you know? Don't buy them.
Off the top of my head, no, I don't know that number.
We need to find out. When I had rental property, my tenants really wanted to get their sticker and they bought it. It was my mother's house. I thought after 2 years, I finally sold that house for half it was worth. The people who bought it, by gosh, they got a vehicle sticker. You have apartments over here, you have rental homes, you should be able to find those people, that's revenue.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
If you just are gonna repeal the tax cap, does that change anything else on the home rule status that we have?
Not at all. It doesn't affect home rule status at all.
And you're sure of that?
Yes.
Means they can raise it when they get ready.
And an ordinance could be put back in place after this is repealed. A new one could be put back in place.
And it's from you 6 trustees again, and then there are gonna be these secret meetings again.
Thank you. Yes, Ruben.
That should be fixed to where it
You know,
has to be the people that decide that.
One thing I've always done in my past, and I know not many people know much about me, that's okay, but when we have a meeting, when we have a public hearing, we should have solutions to that, not just one solution. I very much like what Mr. LaRue said about alternatives. Well, alternatives should have been presented at the same time, because there are quite a number of alternatives. Do we know them all? No, we don't. Because the control of the village is right in front of us. And then if we don't know, we can't help with our opinions of what can be done a little bit better, because it doesn't mean we're gonna go at it 100%. But you gotta give us something to give you back. And the thing is, even with repealing, when the word repeal means, well, repeal means it's all gone. It leaves it open in the future. Anything can happen. It could be 5, 10, 15%. We can guess and talk all we want. But we're not gonna, the times are not gonna stop with the need. The need we have this year is right now, we have a meeting. Next year, it's gonna be something else. Will we go back? Will it be reduced? It's possible. And then again, of course, it could be doubled.
Right.
But we don't have a solution. And then the solution could also be maybe you repeal it, but you make an amendment to that and say, we're gonna go back on the old one after 12 months, 24 months. We have nothing to go on. We just have your word. And I want to put trust in that word. But we need alternatives. We need to know, and I commend you for your suggestion.
The problem with changing it or amending it, that means the board, this board, and the next board, and the next board could do it anytime they want to.
Right,
What's-
to
what's
change
the
it every
difference?
time.
Exactly.
That's what you're
That was
asking
put
to
in
do
the-
now, is to change it, so
But-
we can keep going, changing it.
Right.
I'm not.
Right, but then appeal, that's what gets us, all right, why can you repeal the cap? Why is there not a way to keep the cap with an amendment to the cap for 24 months or 12 months? Why not? There's a lot of people here that are willing to take some kind of hit, but we don't want to see a hit just from these people. We want to see a hit for the whole village. I want you to know I am a military serviceman. I retired in the military 20 years. But I want to tell you what's important right there. For many years, we didn't get no damn raise. And we didn't say we weren't going to protect America.
That's right.
All right? And you have to remember that. So at the same time, we make adjustments, people have to make
You're in here with a
adjustments all
lot
the
of
way around.
veterans, so.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Donald Gross. Are there any other communities in the south suburbs facing this kind of issue or have already faced it and done what you're suggesting and gotten out of it successfully? Or are we just kind of like going into the unknown right now?
I have seen major corporations do this kind of thing. As far as villages, excuse me, please. I am new to being the mayor. I personally have not seen other villages going through this. When I talk to other mayors in other towns, no one has the debt level that we have experienced here in the village. I did talk to the mayor of Chicago Ridge, and while they're the most comparable town to our little town, their total indebtedness is $500,000, not $24 million.
And the thing with that is don't they share something with their fire or police departments? And also when you're comparing our salaries, you're not comparing our revenues and their debt. So there is a difference, and you can't pay people here with money you don't have and say you're comparing it to another community that doesn't have the same $24 million debt that can pay or that are combining their service departments. It's not comparable because it's not an apple being compared to a banana saying you peel it the same way. It's not.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
What was done with the $24 million that was borrowed?
I know that about $8 million, $9.5 million went to road improvements and also infrastructure to water infrastructure repairs. It was back a few years ago, so some of the roads might be in need of repair again, but that's what the money was used for.
I would like to address the young man that asked the question, are any other villages in this situation and why they're not? This town has always been frugal in its ways for a long time.
$24 million in debt, that's frugal.
When I became chief of police here in 2003, and first time I saw the budget, I saw the revenue for